Hi folks, welcome back to another video. It's always a pleasure to have you with me. Today I'll be going through this brand new release from Mercury Studios, Supertramp's Crime of the Century in concert at the Hammersmith Odeon from 1975. I'll get into a proper unboxing and go through the entire package in just a few moments, but I do have a few comments to share before we get into that. To my knowledge, this is the first official release of the 51-year-old concert on video. The audio had been released, I think it was in 2014 as part of the 40th anniversary of Crime of the Century. But for this release on the Blu-ray, Ken Scott, who produced not only Crime of the Century but Crisis What Crisis, has done a complete updating of the audio, so I can guarantee you that for a live performance of that period, the sound is absolutely fantastic. It's presented here with three options, a 2.0, a 5.1, and a Dolby Atmos mix. But given the time period of the 1970s, anyone hoping for a modern 4K high-resolution video concert will likely be disappointed. But I can assure you that it's incredibly watchable. I have a number of other concerts from that time period, and it compares very, very positively. The lighting is atmospheric for this show back then, and for the purposes of this live concert, it doesn't always lend itself well to clarity. That said, for a 1970s film, I think you'll really enjoy it. In fact, for those of you who have it, I would compare the visuals to the, I believe it was 2011 release of Supertramp's Live Paris video that of course went along with the incredibly successful Double Live album from back in the day. And in the absence of any other pro-shot concert video from the 1970s, you can consider this to be a holy grail. While distance shots can be a little bit dark and somewhat grainy, close-ups are quite nice and crisp. In fact, in that regard, it looks superior, in my view, to the Live Paris video, which does have some close-ups that can be grainy at times. So generally speaking, for the time period in which this was shot, it looks very, very nice, and you can tell that they've used all the technology available in 2026 to bring it up to date. And one thing is crystal clear from the moment you hit play on this. This is a band hitting its stride and about to conquer the world in 1975. The set list is bookended by side 1 of Crime of the Century, and in the middle there are 4 songs from Crisis What Crisis. The end of the Blu-ray, the remainder of the concert, is the second half of Crime of the Century. And like their progressive rock contemporaries Pink Floyd, it was very common for them to road test new material at the time before committing it to vinyl. Even though Crisis What Crisis doesn't benefit from the same lasting reputation and sales as Crime of the Century, it's impressive how well the 4 songs from Crisis What Crisis fit alongside the Crime of the Century material in the concert. Supertramp music, as most fans know, is always an eclectic mix of Rick Davies' blues and jazz influences and Roger Hodgson's lighter, often more accessible songs. And here we find Davies and Hodgson in their prime, bringing youth and vigor to their respective vocals. There's a wonderful section in the song Lady where the camera focuses on Davies and Hodgson side by side, playing keys and harmonizing together. And of course their back and forths, vocal back and forths, trading vocals during Rudy is pure Supertramp magic, even in the days before the iconic Train Tracks video was added to the show, which I believe came a couple of tours later down the road. The rhythm section of Bob C. Benberg on drums and Dougie Thompson on bass is incredibly powerful and placed very highly in the mix. The drums are just amazing on this recording. Multi-instrumentalist John Helliwell, of course, master of ceremonies for the band, brings a mixture of sounds including woodwinds, percussion, and additional keyboards. And just brings that extra special something to the show that was a Supertramp concert. And again, kudos to Ken Scott, producer of both Crime and Crisis, for supervising the audio in this release. Unlike many other concerts of that time, and even more modern concerts that can sound very highly overproduced, This one genuinely sounds like a band playing live together, and there's nothing else you could ask for a live recording. I did have the pleasure of seeing Supertramp a number of times in the 1980s. Unfortunately, Roger had already left the band. And I was also honored to see Roger in concert on a number of occasions and did get to meet him, which was a true thrill. He was an absolute gentleman, and every time I saw either Supertramp or Roger in concert, I was reminded about how blessed we were to have their music in our lives and how fulfilling it is to still get new recordings like this after all these years. So the bottom line is, for those of you who are hardcore Supertramp fans, this is almost a no-brainer purchase. It's a holy grail. Wonderful live video and audio from that time period has been very hard to come by, so I'd highly, highly recommend it. So please do sit back and relax as I go through the unboxing. And I should mention this as well, if you haven't already, please do consider subscribing to the channel. Liking and sharing also helps the algorithm. I'm just bubbling under 1,000 subscribers at the moment, and I'm looking forward to bringing all kinds of extra classic rock and progressive rock releases to you folks in the near future. So again, thanks again for all your support. And here we go with our unboxing from Mercury Studios, Blu-ray Supertramp Crime of the Century in concert at the Hammersmith Odeon, 1975. Remove the shrink wrap. And for those of you new to my videos, my unboxings tend to be very minimalistic. Let the pictures and the music do the talking. Quick peek at the spine.
Right, you're bloody well right. You got a bloody right to say. Right, you're bloody well right. You know.
Again, what a treat it is to have this release after all these years as a proper video. Even though we have had the audio for some time, seeing the band in their glory 51 years ago is quite something. Blu-ray disc. And we'll take a few minutes to go through the booklet. And the 8-page booklet does contain some very interesting sleeve notes about the origins of the band and how they got to this point in 1975 following the release of Crime of the Century. Great concert shots. I must mention one little glitch with the sleeve notes. They are complete, but unfortunately the pages were placed out of order. But trust me, it's all there. And there you go. Again, highly recommended, folks, for fans of Supertramp. A holy grail item, Crime of the Century live. Thanks again for watching.